Chapter 16. Learning Objective 16.1, we will identify your key selling points for the job application process. Then evaluate the primary needs of employers for positions of interest. Set up the message structure for resumes and cover letters, and highlight your qualifications with effective tone, style, and design. Create a chronological and functional resume to highlight your key selling points. Use LinkedIn as part of the job search process and to network professionally. Develop a list of references that will improve your employment prospects. Compose effective cover letters that highlight your key selling points. Review your job application documents for effectiveness and fairness. Finally, develop strategies for responding to common job interview questions, explain etiquette for following up after job interviews, and explain etiquette for leaving an organization with grace and foresight. So this chapter covers your key selling points, primary needs of employers, resumes and cover letters, using LinkedIn, references that improve your prospects, reviewing job applications, job interview follow-up, and leaving an organization. Preparing for the job application process is similar to preparing for other forms of business communication. It involves analyzing your audience, meeting the needs of your employers, gathering the right information, identifying your key selling points, and developing your message. Your end products cover letters and resumes are persuasive messages that show how you meet the needs of your prospective employers. To create resumes and cover letters that serve your long-term career interests, your first step should be to carefully evaluate your career ambitions and qualifications. In this process, you clarify your professional goals for the short term, 1 to 2 years, and long term, 5 to 10 years. Identify the skills you have developed at school and work, and sort out the attributes that define who you are as a professional. As with other business communications, you attempt to identify your most important and strongest points so you can develop a concise and compelling message about the value you will bring to your prospective employers. Identifying your career goals helps you accomplish several things in the job search process. First, it helps you frame your resume and cover letter to project your career hopes. Second, it helps you evaluate how well your abilities and attributes prepare you for your deserved career. This process allows you to address those areas where you most need improvement. Finally, it shows employers that you are so serious as well-defined career goals imply seriousness in your approach to work. Once you have written down your career goals, identify your abilities and attributes. Abilities are skills and knowledge that can be applied to accomplishing work tasks. Attributes are personal traits or characteristics. In the job application process, employers are often looking for more than your abilities. They're trying to figure out the kind of person you are. To help you identify your interests, abilities, and attributes, you might consider completing a self-inventory. In Figure 16.1 is an example of Hannah's self-inventory. Start by writing your career goals. Even if you don't have clear ones in mind, do your best to imagine the type of work you would like to be doing in 5 and 10 years. Allow yourself enough time to do some soul searching and research about careers as you develop your goals. To help you identify your interest, abilities, and attributes, again, and here are some more questions. Look at your strongest professional attributes and areas where you need to improve. One useful way of analyzing your abilities and attributes is in terms of credibility. To do so, consider the features of competence, the ability to accomplish work tasks, caring, ability to maintain effective workplace relationships, and character, ability to uphold corporate norms and standards. Competence focuses on the technical skills to achieve work tasks. In Table 16.1, you can see examples of abilities and attributes associated with competence, caring, and character. In Table 6.1, again, you see more of caring in this case. And here's character. When hiring you, employers are making a huge investment. They will make this investment only when you demonstrate that you meet their needs. You can learn how well you fit the needs of employers by conducting a thorough job search and carefully analyzing those positions that are most compatible with your abilities and attributes. Use all the resources available to learn about your options and ensure that you apply for the jobs that are good fits for you. You likely have a career center located in your college or university. Spend some time talking to experts there and make a plan for exhaustively searching for jobs that match your interests and qualifications. Where possible, contact and get involved with professional organizations and visit organizational websites to learn about your options. One of the best ways to understand an employer's needs is to carefully read and analyze the job position announcement. Then group the request in the announcement in terms of abilities and attributes. Once you've done this, you're in a good position to decide whether you match these criteria, and if so, to frame your resume and cover letter to highlight these abilities and attributes. A mistake that many job applicants make is trying to display everything they do well. This approach often ends up sending a scattered message and diluting a central sales theme about your key abilities and attributes. Generally, employers prefer single-page resumes, although it is increasingly acceptable to create two-page resumes. As a university student, though, you should aim for a single page. If you find yourself using more than one page, you are likely weakening the message about your key selling points. That's very important. Typically, resumes contain the following major sections: a name block, career summary or objective, education, experience. Some principles of effective resume are the following: emphasize accomplishments with action verbs. Quantify accomplishments where possible. Position your most important contributions first. Group and label information to increase ease of reading. Remove irrelevant details. Some additional principles of effective resumes: avoid buzzwords and jargon. Be exact. Avoid errors. That is beyond important. Group and label information to improve ease of reading. Format to distinguish pieces of information. Select a simple yet visually appealing layout. Without exaggerating, choose verbs that make your key abilities and attributes jump off the page. By the same token, avoid verbs that undersell your abilities and attributes. Many university students use weak verbs when describing their significant customer service and administrative experiences. Read through some of the less effective and more effective statements in Table 16.3 and notice how action verbs can bolster your credibility. Greeted clients and scheduled appointments. I love that. Developed and ran marketing. Says so much more. Took inventory of all items sold in the store. Better than kept track of tanning products. Quantify your accomplishments. Your potential employers want to know how valuable your contributions have been in your prior jobs. So where possible, describe key contributions and how they affected the bottom line. Often when you can't say for certain how much you affected financial results, you can provide numbers that show the significance of your work. Notice the contrast between the less effective and more effective examples. Supervised 6 tellers. Organized a group of 83 members. Much more than in charge of an effort to support. Look, be very specific. Writing resumes and cover letters requires the discipline to tell a story of how your key abilities and attributes will provide value to an employer. You should generally avoid details about your personal life, especially those that some people may find objectionable or unprofessional. Other information, although typically and technically okay on a resume, should be provided only if it helps develop your narrative. Generally, avoid listing personal interests and hobbies unless this information takes up little space and accentuates your key abilities and attributes. Take a look at the less effective here. Here's your more effective. Notice we don't include, we stay away from religion and politics and high school. High school doesn't matter now once you are through college or going through college. As you craft your job application, show enthusiasm for potential positions without resorting to cliches. Many potential employers perceive these statements as showing unrealistic or naive expectations about a job or inflated beliefs about abilities. Take a look at the less effective and more effective presentation. Potential employers examine your resume with intense scrutiny. On the first pass, many discard it immediately if it contains typos or other careless errors. True, I've always thrown resumes away as soon as I saw a typo. In other words, the standard is high, and few potential employers are forgiving. For an example of poor proofreading, and many of you need to learn to proofread. When you have long lists of items, consider grouping the information to help recruiters quickly grasp your abilities. If you don't group lists of 4 or more items, recruiters will often skip or gloss over them. Furthermore, by grouping items on your resume, you show your understanding of related skill sets. Yes, the less effective preparing it all in one big clump says nothing. You need to group and organize it so that it stands out. When you have long lists of items, consider grouping the information to help recruiters quickly grasp. And there we go. I'm rereading it, but that it's very important. Take a look at major coursework. Gosh, don't put course numbers down. You want to write down the names of the courses. As you format your resume, focus on ease of processing and consistency. Imagine recruiters who are review dozens, if not hundreds of resumes in a day. They are likely skimming on the first pass to see if your resume deserves more attention. So make sure that you can gather the most pertinent information quickly. By formatting your document effectively with bold, italics, spacing, and other features, you can help recruiters understand your primary abilities and attributes within 20 to 30 seconds, and that's very important. One of your first choices as you assemble your resume is the format. The two major options are chronological resumes, which present the information grouped by work and education over time, and functional resumes, which present the information in terms of key skills. The most common and generally preferred format, especially for young professionals, is the chronological resume. One recent survey showed that 75% of hiring managers preferred them, whereas 17% preferred the functional and 8 had no preference. So you would start with your name block, summary of your qualifications or your objective, your education in chronological order, no high school, your work experience starting from your new job to the latest job you have to the oldest, and then additional information such as activities and achievements. The functional resumes draw special attention to your key skills. They are most often used by professionals with extensive, more than 15 years experience, and individuals with little or no work experience. Experienced professionals use them as a way to streamline a lengthy list of jobs, many of which involved similar accomplishments and experiences. Inexperienced individuals often use them to emphasize key skills developed through a combination of school, community, volunteer, and other types of activities, while de-emphasizing a lack of work experience. So in this resume, you could see name block, summary of your qualifications or career summary, your skills, and additional information such as achievements and awards. Your LinkedIn profile serves as a supplement to the materials you provide to a prospective employer. You can expect that many of your professional contacts, colleagues, partners, clients, customers, and others will check your profile to learn more about you. Typically, your LinkedIn profile is an elaborated version of your resume. Keep in mind these tips as you manage your LinkedIn presence. Provide a professional photo, create a personalized URL, complete the summary space, use multimedia, choose sections wisely. Also, keep in mind these tips as you manage your LinkedIn presence. Manage your recommendations and endorsements strategically. Build a network of important connections. Maintain a giver mentality and stay active on LinkedIn. Cover letters describe your interest in and qualifications for a position. Whereas you may have up to 3 versions of your resume for various positions, you must uniquely tailor each cover letter to a particular position. Keep in mind the following advice. The cover letter often forms the first impression. Clearly identify the position you are applying for. Be focused and concise. Show a confident and enthusiastic tone without exaggerating or displaying arrogance. Tailor your cover letter to the job posting and needs of the employer. Adapt for unsolicited letters. Most people gain their positions through formal job announcements, that is, jobs solicited by companies. When applying for these jobs, you will write a solicited cover letter since it is for an open position that a company advertises. In some cases, however, you may seek employment with a company that does not even have an open position. In these cases, you will submit an unsolicited cover letter since the company has not requested job applications. Your job application must be perfect. Recruiters rarely have any tolerance for inaccuracies in a resume, and that is 100% true beyond true. Furthermore, they won't hire you unless you present your selling points effectively. On the most basic level, you should make sure every element of your job application correctly portrays your abilities and attributes, so you must avoid any urge to exaggerate. You should also review your documents over and over to ensure they emphasize your selling points in a compelling manner. Consider getting the opinions of many people about your resume, especially those down in the job and career placement area of your college. Many job applicants spend little time preparing for the interview, essentially winging it. Bad idea. At this crucial stage where hiring managers are making their decisions, now they're getting a face-to-face with you, preparation often sets apart those who receive offers and those who do not. In this section, we focus on a few parts of the job interview. Dress appropriately for the interview and pay attention to etiquette. Respond effectively to interview questions. Take steps to succeed in web conference interviews and follow up. That's so important after the job interview. As much as possible, gain a sense ahead of time about the dress standards at the company where you are interviewing. Generally, you should dress up, even when the company has a fairly casual environment. Typically, err on the side of conservative dress. That is, wear well-pressed, cleaned, and nicely fitted clothes. No leggings. No leggings, girls. I could have a whole class on dressing. And if you're not sure, you ask somebody at the Career Center. Avoid over-accessorizing with too much jewelry, flashy glasses, or other items. One of the first signals of professionalism you give at a job interview relates to your clothes. Take a look at this. Major problem is dressed too provocatively. People don't want to see that. You're at work, not out on a date or out at a club. The moment of truth for hiring managers generally occurs during the job interview. Many make fairly quick judgments about your abilities and attributes. To prepare for the questions you may be asked, consider the following tips. Respond to questions strategically, confidently, and concisely. That means you have to be prepared. There's many websites out there where we'll give you the typical interview questions, and if you can't find them, so your career planning area at your college. You must have those questions answered and prepared to answer in an interview. Be perceptive about what hiring managers are evaluating. Tell success stories. Avoid criticizing former organizations, supervisors, and colleagues. None of that negativity. Ask questions. Excuse me. Here are some common types of interview questions. Tell me about yourself. If you flew, how was your flight? How was your travel? They may ask you about the weather or major headline. No politics, no religion. Why did you choose your school? Why did you choose your major? What was your favorite part of your program? Least favorite. Anything negative should be turned around into a positive. What do you know about our company? What do you think are some of our main business challenges? How can you help? What trends do you see in this industry? And then work experience. Here are some more. I suggest you go through all of these and be able to answer them confidently, strategically, and concisely. And as I said, if there's any question that asks about a negative thing, what stresses you out, you could tell them, but then tell them how you deal with it. You always turn it into a positive. Here's the final listing of them. During job interviews, telling stories about your successes can create a positive connection between you and your potential employer. One approach to telling success stories is the STAR method: situation, tasks, action, results. Here's an example. How well do you work with deadlines? I'm quite used to meeting deadlines, and actually I've done some of the best work when I had to hit a deadline. One example occurred recently. So here's the situation. For over a decade, our credit union has been a prominent supporter of the event for breast cancer. Last year, our group was comprised of just 15, most of whom were employees. 2 weeks before the deadline for signing up, our president approached me and asked me if I could head up a promotional effort to get a larger group from the credit union. Then it explains the actions and then the overall results. Excellent. Generally, your interviewer will ask you what questions you have. Come prepared with some. When interviewees do not ask questions, hiring managers often view them as uninterested or inexperienced. Typically, if you ask about salary, compensation, and other perks, you may inadvertently send the meta message, "This is all about me." So you don't want to ask that kind of question. You want to ask about where do you see the company going in 10 years? Tell me about your management style, things like that. Many companies are increasingly using web conferences for initial job interviews. The use of Skype, Google Hangouts, or other teleconferencing platforms is far more convenient and less expensive in time and money than flying job candidates out for job interviews. Consider the following strategies for these types of jobs. Do several trial runs. Make sure your profile for the web conference software creates the right impression. Look professional. Tidy up your room or office. Look directly at the camera. Smile and express yourself nonverbally. Use notes strategically and don't take notes to a job interview itself. Avoid distractions and send a thank you note. Sending a note of appreciation following an interview is a good strategy. In a poll of 150 senior executives, 88% stated that sending a thank you note could increase chances of employment. When asked how many job applicants actually did send them, executives estimated that just 51% do so. Your primary goal should be to express goodwill and confirm your interest in the position. Within a few hours to 1 day after your interview, send a thank you note. The note should be brief and sincere. Some job applicants wonder whether they should send a thank you email or thank you card. One half of HR professionals said sending a thank you email is the best way. Nearly one-third said it's best to send a thank you note by regular mail. Also, HR professionals recommend sending a thank you email right away and sending a thank you note by regular mail. When you accept a new position, you can extend several courtesies to your current employer and ensure that you leave on good terms so that your supervisors can provide a positive recommendation in the future if you need it. In the first place, you should immediately inform your supervisor that you are leaving in person. In addition to telling your supervisor in person that you are leaving, you may be required to write a formal resignation. Here's an example of one. Write a brief, warm, and appreciative letter. After studying this chapter, you should understand identifying your key selling points, the primary needs of employers, resumes and cover letters, using LinkedIn, references that improve your prospects, reviewing job applications, job interview follow-up, and leaving an organization.